Going camping with my fiancé turned into an unexpected adventure when, due to a series of mishaps, we ended up with only one tent for the night. My fiancé's childhood bro had no choice but to join us in the middle of the night. Unable to control himself, my fiancé pulled me into the blankets. I let out a soft moan but suddenly remembered that his friend was sleeping right next to us. I had been dating my boyfriend for 3 years when we got engaged. To celebrate, Leonard, my fiancé, invited his childhood friend and his girlfriend for a weekend camping trip in the countryside. Upon arriving at our destination, we barely had time to unload our things before Leonard's friend and his girlfriend got into a heated argument over something trivial, leading to a breakup. In a huff, the girl drove off, leaving behind a camping tent in her car. We were left staring at each other in disbelief. It was getting dark, and finally, Leonard declared, "Henry, you can sleep in the car tonight. Jenna and I will take the remaining tent." I thought that settled it, but then another complication arose. While moving our things, a container of spices had come loose and spilled all over the back seat. After cleaning it up, the car still smelled strongly of spices. Leonard looked at me and Henry awkwardly. "Jenna, how about letting Henry sleep with us in the tent? It's big enough for 3, he suggested. After considering it, I realized our tent was indeed spacious enough for 3 people, plus we had an extra sleeping bag that Henry could use. I agreed without hesitation. To show his gratitude, Henry went all out that evening, grilling delicious barbecue while Leonard was off washing some fruit. Henry called out to me with a grin, "Jenna, want another skewer of grilled chicken wings?" I glanced over at him, bathed in the gentle moonlight. He was busy at the grill, wearing a tank top and an apron. His muscular arms were impressive and his chest was so well defined that the apron barely contained it. I found myself looking a little too long. Licking my lips, his body was definitely more appealing than Leonard's. "Yes, please." "Thanks," I replied, shaking off my thoughts and smiling at him. Just then, Leonard returned, wrapping his arms around me and guiding my hand to eat some fruit. His fingers playfully brushed against my lips, igniting a spark of desire within me. As the night wore on, that desire became uncontrollable. Henry had fallen asleep, and the tent was filled with the sound of his faint snoring. Leonard and I were pressed tightly together, our bodies igniting with passion. I could feel Leonard's restlessness beneath the covers. "Baby, I really want you," he whispered, nibbling on my earlobe. My ears were sensitive, and his warm breath sent shivers down my spine, stirring my own desires. "There's someone else here. Let's wait until we get back tomorrow," I urged. "You've been on your period for 7 days. We haven't done anything in a week. I can't hold back any longer." As he spoke, his hand slipped under my shirt, and I almost let out a sound. Desire exploded within me, with Henry snoring in the background. The thrill of the moment intensified, amplifying my pleasure. As we wrapped ourselves in the blankets, I noticed that Henry's snoring seemed to fade away. I turned to look, and it appeared that something was propped up beneath his sleeping bag. Had Henry woken up? I was startled, but when I looked again, he had rolled over, and the steady sound of his snoring resumed. The next morning, when Leonard and I woke up, Henry was no longer in the tent. Leonard, still groggy, murmured, "Baby, I want you again." To be honest, I felt the same way, but I was unsure when Henry would return, which made things a bit awkward. I pressed down on Leonard's wandering hands. "You should take care of the used condom from last night. We don't want Henry to see it," Leonard grumbled, but eventually got up to tidy up. When I stepped out of the tent, I found that Leonard and Henry had already prepared breakfast. One had a bowl of noodles, while the other served a vegetable salad, creating a bizarre illusion of a polyamorous household. Thinking back to the thrilling events of the previous night, I found it hard to meet Henry's gaze, fearing he might have heard everything. "I really envy your relationship, showing off your affection in front of me, huh?" Henry teased, noticing Leonard and me cuddled together. Leonard laughed. "Well, you were the one who scared your girlfriend away yesterday." Henry rolled his eyes. "You know how dramatic she can be. I was just a second too slow to help her out of the car, and she berated me like I was her servant." He turned to me. "But you're different, sister-in-law." My heart skipped a beat. His words felt loaded with meaning. Leonard chuckled, pinching my cheek and kissing me. "A girl like Jenna is hard to come by. You should be jealous, haha." We were supposed to head back in the afternoon, but suddenly Leonard came down with a high fever. It wasn't entirely unexpected. He had been coughing since morning and had been unusually sleepy all day. I knew his health wasn't great, but I never imagined that a night of camping would leave him with a fever. There was a first aid kit in the car, so I checked his temperature. It was 106° F. After giving him some medicine, I planned to quickly pack our things with Henry and drive Leonard back for a shot. However, the car smelled too strong. Leonard had allergic rhinitis, and the odor triggered his symptoms, making it impossible for him to stay in the car. I had no choice but to air it out and suggested he take a nap in the tent for now. To make Leonard more comfortable, I dampened a towel and wiped down the back seat where the spices had spilled. Just then, a warm body pressed against me. "Jenna, let me help." Henry's breath tickled my ear, and I instinctively flinched, but his hand reached over my shoulder to grab the towel, inadvertently brushing against my chest. We both froze. "Jenna." Henry's voice was hoarse. I turned to move, but I was half kneeling in the car, one foot still outside. Henry was leaning over me, and if I moved, his solid chest thumped against my back, and the overwhelming scent of his masculinity made me dizzy. But his next words sent a chill down my spine. "Jenna, I actually saw everything last night." I gasped and spun around, colliding with his chest and falling back into the car. Henry quickly caught me, one hand gripping the car roof to steady us. I noticed the way his shirt clung to his body, accentuating his muscles, and I couldn't help but swallow hard. "Jenna, your voice kept me up all night. Are you going to make it up to me?" Desire began to cloud his eyes. I felt a rush of panic. With Leonard sick, was I really about to? I pushed him away with all my strength, feeling something graze my palm, sending a jolt through me, but I gritted my teeth and dashed into the tent. Being with Leonard made me feel a bit more secure. Just as I let out a sigh of relief, I heard Leonard call my name in his sleep, pulling me closer. I was forced to lie down next to his warm body. Leonard's hands were restless, igniting my own frustrations and desires. Suddenly, the tent was flung open. Henry glanced at the sleeping Leonard, and despite my alarmed expression, he quietly slipped inside and lay down on my other side. "Jenna, I can help you if Leonard is making you uncomfortable." I felt a shameful thrill, but a shred of rationality held me back, and I remained silent. Leonard rolled over and snuggled against me, snoring loudly, leaving me feeling hot and restless. Henry chuckled softly, his lips brushing against my ear as he took my hand and moved it down, while his other hand followed suit. At the moment of contact, he let out a pleasurable sigh. My last thread of reason snapped, and as Leonard turned to wrap his arms around my waist again, the sensation reached a peak. Henry was clearly feeling it too, his hands working working diligently. I had never experienced such a dizzying mix of excitement and guilt before, the thrill and anxiety intertwining. Just then, Leonard turned back to embrace me. I jolted, immediately pushing Henry away. Henry didn't dare move. After a moment, we both realized that Leonard was still asleep and we breathed a sigh of relief. Henry shot me a glance, reluctantly getting up and exiting the tent. Before long, I woke Leonard, and we drove back to the city. As we parted ways, Henry looked at me with a hint of reluctance, as if he wanted to say something but held back. After giving him a warning look, I left with Leonard. This was a secret I would keep to myself. After all, it was just a moment of adult indiscretion. My normal life had to continue. Leonard went to the clinic for N4 while I returned to our place, planning to prepare a light candlelit dinner for him. I knew I was feeling guilty and wanted to make amends. However, just as I was ready to call Leonard and ask when he would be back, he told me he had to go to work unexpectedly after finishing N4 drip. I didn't sense anything was wrong, but an hour later, I received a message from Henry. It felt like a bucket of cold water had been thrown over me as I stared at my phone in silence for a moment. He had sent a photo. It was a picture of Leonard with another woman. This is his first love. She just returned to the country. Jenna, you should break up with him. Henry sent another message. I clenched my teeth, then trembling, I called him. Give me the address. Henry said, Jenna, Leonard broke up with his first love because she went abroad for her studies. All these years, he's actually kept her in his heart. I was indeed angered by his words, but I was even more determined to see for myself what was going on. Henry couldn't argue with me and told me the name of a cafe, adding casually, if you're feeling really upset later, just give me a call. I ignored him, hung up, and hurried out. When I arrived at the cafe, I found them sitting together in a corner. The woman was leaning on Leonard's shoulder, crying like a broken-hearted mess. Leonard was wiping her tears and patting her shoulder to comfort her. Fury surged within me, and I stormed over, slapping Leonard across the face.